Hi, welcome back guys, this is your friend, WTFW with another fiction. What if Deku's dream of helping people without any powers? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. It's been said that people aren't created equal. Some people are born to be heroes, some destined to be villains, others the poor, and the few aren't born to be anything at all. Midoriya Izuku is one such person. Born into an ever-shrinking minority of people without a power, a special ability, a quirk of personhood that makes him worth knowing. But Midoriya wasn't thinking about that right now. This was one of those glorious moments where he can partake in the cultural zeitgeist. Watching an evil of titanous proportions do battle with a paragon of justice. Over the cacophonous blanket of sound, he heard something. A child's cry. Izuku looked around, noticing a child, no older than 5, splayed out on the ground. "Hi," he says. "My name is Midoriya, are you all right?" And no, the child gets out between the tears. "I hurt my leg, and I can't find my mommy." "Okay, can you tell me your name?" "Ariri AI, the child says between sniffles. "Don't worry, Ariri, everything is all right." Izuku smiles, "Because I am here. And I have a band-aid." The child laughs at the reference. After patching up the boy's leg, Izuku found himself playing chariot to the child. Izuku's bag instead strapped to his front to counterbalance. "Mrs. Ariri," called one. "Mommy," called the other. Izuku hears a call, "AI, AI." Suddenly, the weight on his back lifts. "Thank you so much," the woman says. "He didn't use his quirk on you. I am so sorry." No, he didn't do anything, I just wanted to help." "Really, no?" Eyes glowing. "No?" "Oh well," the woman bows, "thank you. Is there anything I can do to repay you?" "And no. I should be going, I am going to be late for class." "Bye, AI." Izuku yells that last part as he bolted into a sprint. He really was running late. And that never ends well for Midoriya. Still, the call of "Bye, Moriya" made his morning. The first thing Izuku heard when he entered his class was the teacher. "You're late." "I know, sensei." "I'm sorry, sensei, I was." "No one cares about your excuses. Detention for interrupting my lecture. Not sit down before you do more damage." "Why, yes, sensei." The rest of the class laughs with derision at poor Midoriya Izuku. The end of the day couldn't, nor would it come any faster. After all, even when the school day ended, he would have detention. The first class of the day was supposed to be dedicated to figuring out your academic future and career prospects. This, of course, promptly went off the rails when the teacher declared that he would hand out these future career forms. "But I assume you all want to be heroes." The last part he says, while he throws the forms to the wind with a flourish. The classroom quickly explodes in a cacophony of sound and quirk usage. To the left of Izuku, his classmate gains 100 pounds of muscle, causing his uniform to explode into tatters. To his right, a fireball narrowly misses the sprinkler system. Yes, you all have wonderful quirks. But you know that it's against the rules to use them in school. The teacher proclaims with a mirthful smile. Suddenly, Bakugo Katsuki proclaims that everyone in the class is a loser with a lame quirk, and that he and only he will make it into the most prestigious school in the country. Leaping atop his desk, he further proclaims that he will not only get into the best school in the country, but that he will surpass its greatest graduate, the nation's hero in every sense of the word, All Might. Izuku watched as his teacher looked towards him. At that moment, he knew today would suck. "You're also going for UA, aren't you, Midoriya?" The entire class turned to look at him before every student, bar Bakugo, burst into laughter. Bakugo, however, wasn't like his fellow students, where they saw a hopeless dreamer and an idiot. He saw a challenger, a direct, calculated insult to his very being. So while Izuku tries to stutter out a defense, Bakugo lunges, in using his explosive quirk to nearly destroy Izuku's desk, while literally blow him away. "Come on, useless," he screams over his already deafening explosion. "Forget the crappy quirks. You're totally quirkless. And you think you can rub shoulders with me. And no, Izuku stammers as he backs away frantically. I don't want to compete with you. It's just been my dream since I was little. And there's no harm in trying. Try? Try what? The entrance exam? You're taking the exam just to try. Izuku is surrounded. People are laughing, whispering on. Student says. His hair must be green because of his envy of his betters. What can you even do? Another jeers. All right. His teacher shouts, that's enough now, back to your seats. Later in the day, Izuku shoots his friend, possibly his only friend, a quick text, going to be late detention. Before his friend could finish texting, someone manhandles him through his backpack. We ain't done here, useless, says Bakugou. The spiky-haired blonde is holding his notebook. What's that? Someone asks. Hero analysis for my future, Bakugou responds. Future, he continues. What future? Slamming his hands down on the notebook, it explodes. The best heroes out there. They show signs of greatness even as a student. And you useless are just the opposite. The fact that you think you can operate on my level is an insult to me and Yua. Don't even think about taking the Yua entrance exam. Izuku watches as his notebook is casually lobbed out a window. As Bakugou and his friends walk out the door, he turns. You want to be a hero so bad? Pray you'll get a quirk in the next life and take a swan dive off the roof. As the students left, the teacher walks back in, cup of coffee in hand. Now, Midoriya, it's time we gave your future some serious thought. Toga. Just Toga sat in the courtyard of Aldera Middle School. She had tried to fish what she assumed was her Izuku's notebook out of the koi pond thing, but it had sat there too long, between the telltale charring the water and the fish nibbling at it. Even the cover was mostly sludge and peeling cardboard. The door opens. Izu, she calls as she runs up to hug the runt. Are you okay? Looking him over, she noticed a few scabs and light burns. Why, yeah. She sighs. Don't lie to me, this place sucks. Want to go punch something until you feel better? Yeah. As the duo walked to what might as well be both their homes, Toga pulled out her phone. Check it out, All Might was in the area. Snagged you a couple photos. Suddenly, Toga's hand was empty. Her phone had magically transported itself inches from Izuku's face. Midoriya, Izuku, and Toga. Just Toga didn't have access to much in the way of capital. So when they wanted to work out, they had to get creative. A baseball glove and an oven mitt with sponges tapped to it, for one of them cloth strips from an old towel for the other. And then thud, he looks me thud thud in the eye, and Izuku ducks as Toga swings the glove. Tells them thud, applying to Yua. God, what assholes. Uppercut, thud. All right, trade. I've got my own problems. My parents, Toga starts. Thud, still aren't talking, thud thud to me. Hasn't it been? Right hook, thud, 2 years. Right thud thud, not like I Toga ducks killed thud anyone. This goes on for another few minutes. All right, pause, Izuku calls. Water break. As they walk towards the drinking fountain of the park, they are in. Toga speaks. So you're still, gasp, apply for Yua. And Shisu and Shoko, and Izuku pauses to catch his breath, then shudders, Aldera high. Well, worst comes to worst, Toga takes a drink. We can be social pariahs together. Is Aldera still that bad? Izuku takes his turn at the fountain. No, after I beat up Ajita and got detention for a month. No one messes with me, and then by extension you. But I'm sure you'll make it into one of those hero schools. You're smart enough. Toga, putting her hand on his face, suddenly picks a scab off his face. Got Toga. Before he could stop her, she had transferred a bead of his blood from her hand to her mouth. Her body melted into her friend's form. I believe in you, his own voice says to him. No, let's go home, your mom's probably done making dinner plus home. Her voice begins to shift as she melts back into herself, work. As it turned out, Izuku was not smart enough. Sure, he was smart enough to get a high score on both the hero and general education book exam, and he certainly got rescue points. However, he wasn't smart enough to realize Yua avoided accepting general education students if they were likely to be jealous of their heroic counterparts. By some twist of fate, the same teacher who participated in Midoriya's interview days prior also interviewed one Shinso Hitoshi. This teacher deemed Shinso to have far more resolve and potential than stuttering Midoriya. This teacher, as it happens, did not read the students' files as to avoid creating quirk bias. Shiksu was also unforgiving of Izuku's stuttering, deeming it undignified. Choco, despite its high acceptance rate, wasn't so egalitarian in its selection process. Izuku's dream of heroics was truly dead in the water. Thankfully, his dreams of helping people were not. Izuku was in his room. He had been in his room for the last 2 days. He was in his bed. He had been in his bed for the last 14 hours. Izuku was crying. He had been crying for 40 minutes. Toga was in his room. She had been in his room for almost as long as she had been in his house today. 47-second total. Hey Izu. She approached him slowly, ducking her head to look at the hole in the covers where she assumed his head was. I was hoping this would cheer you up. Is it a quirk? Izuku, baby, if I could give you my quirk, I would in a heartbeat. She sits down on the bed. So I was looking into how you could help people. And Izuku weakly responds after a tissue is shoved out from under the blankets. You know, technically you need to use your quirk to be a vigilante, and it will be pretty easy for me to not. Pass, Izuku interrupts. I didn't manage to do anything useful in any of the combat exams. A long sigh. I wouldn't last a minute. I really am useless. Okay, first, not true. Second, I have some other ideas. Like what? She pauses, conflicted. Her mind hits a conclusion. Plus ultra, have you heard of the gentle criminal? Izuku raises his head. You want me to be a criminal? Well, I mean, look, he goes after people below the hero's notice. And he's a criminal, so people who are gaming the system are fair game. He is kind of an idiot. But if he can do it without getting caught, then we can do it. I mean, for starters, we aren't going to post YouTube videos about it. He has a YouTube channel? His voice quivers, but something resembling humor is mixed in. Oh yeah, look at this guy. Hello, my dear viewers. I trust this video finds you well, the man spoke. And today, we shall yet again dabble in armed robbery. For you see, my dear views, according to my sources who shall remain unnamed, this chain Tokyo Coffee has been stiffing its employees on tips. But first he pulls a rubber-banded wad of money. 50,000 yen I shall place in the tip jar. The video continues on. The gentle criminal does indeed place the money in the tip jar before having the employees empty the registers. Have you considered unionizing? Asks the unseen camera woman. And we will take 2 scones to go. Please and thank you, says Gentle. The camera cuts. Gentle is facing the camera straight on. The commenters of my last few video have been asking me, why am I doing this? Well, my dear view, I shall simply say a great man once said, for evil to triumph, good men simply have to do nothing. The simple act of standing up, or even admittedly impolitely kicking up a fuss, means I'm doing something. I hope in all of your eyes makes me a hero. And if I'm a hero, then Gentle suddenly stands, spreading his arms wide. You too can be a hero. Izuku stared. I think I need a minute. Okay, if you need me, I'll be on your couch. Inko gave me the go-ahead to spend the night. Cool, Izuku said, still staring at the screen. An hour later, Izuku texts her, only to realize he still had her phone. Hey Toga, he calls, want to go for a walk? They walked in silence until Izuku asked a question that could change 2 lives. How would you feel if your parents appreciated your quirk? Toga, with love and understanding, gave a response that would cement the trajectory of their lives. What do you have in mind? Contrary to popular belief, Toga's family was well off. Not ostentatious, but comfortable well off. well off enough that they could have date nights at predictable intervals. They were also well off enough that they even had some family heirlooms, irreplaceable heirlooms. A sword all the way back from WW2, once used as a weapon by the only hero in their family line, lovingly restored after being misplaced in a damp attach proudly on display in the living room. Izuku boldly walked up to the front door after rolling the ski mask down his face, his gloved hands lifting the welcome mat. Finding a spare key, creeping into the house, he began to pilfer at his leisure. The sword was the first thing he tucked under his arm. The rest went into a backpack he bought just for the occasion. After exiting the master bedroom with a jewelry box in tow, he knocks on Toga's door. She knocks back and opens her door a crack. He stands there as his closest and possibly only friend calls the police. Hello, she says quietly. I think there's someone in my house. Oh no, he has the family sword. What am I supposed to do? It's irreplaceable. Izuku begins to walk down the hall. Toga screams. Fuck monster. He shouts back, dropping the sword as he runs. Modern window glass doesn't break sharp, he thinks over and over again as he prepares to hurl himself through a window. Crashing through the window, he hits the ground hard. Finding himself sprawled out in the front yard, Izuku quickly gets up and runs. Sirens can be heard in the distance. Hey Izu? Asked Toga from her perch on the open window. What are we supposed to do with the stuff? That is, Izuku says slowly from his desk chair, a very good question. Maybe we could pawn it. Do we need the money? Do we need to keep incriminating evidence? We could donate the money. Izuku begins to boot up his computer. Let's find a pawn shop. While Izuku is typing, he begins to speak. So how are things with your parents? Toga sighs. Well, they are talking to me again. That's okay, I guess. She stands up and begins pacing. It's just like it's been 2 years, they don't even really know me. It's awkward. They haven't asked me to stop, her hands raise, in order to make air quotes smiling wrong. So that's great. Her arms flop to her sides. Have you been smiling around them? Oh yeah, as much as I can. You really helped me, Izu. Things are better. It's a shame we can't help more people like this, says Izuku dejectedly. Who's to say we can't? Well, how would we find anyone? You know the computer can be used for more than just surfing hero forums. Izuku spins around in his chair, coming face to face with Toga's classic horror movie smile. What are you saying? You know there are support groups for people with villain quirks, right? Quirkless too. What? Izuku says before his mouth hangs open. Toga stares. How could you not know? I don't know. You're like the smartest person I know. And it never occurred to you to find a support system. Izuku slumps down in his chair, hands on his face. Ooh, I'm an idiot, aren't I? Toga begins to laugh. Moments later, Izuku starts snickering. Over the next month, Izuku and Toga had pretended to experience pain at a 5-finger touch, got chased out of a house by someone with far too many tentacles and eyes, and actually barfed from a stink bug quirk. Most of 400,000 yen they had collected went to charities anonymously. However, some was saved to buy a set of lock picks, a nice knife, and a can of pepper spray for emergencies. Finally, it all culminated on the weekend before Izuku's first year at Alder High. Okay, ready, Kiyotaka? Kiyotaka's only response was to take rapid breaths, give a thumbs up, and flood the living room. The three were standing in with a purple mist. Wait, not, Izuku gags. Toga starts to hack and sway. Kiyotaka, panicking, shoves them both through the open window. The two came in through. They both begin crawling away from the open window. As Kiyotaka too leans out to get a fresh breath. I thought you said you were ready. I was asking. Their hushed, but hoarse-voiced conversation was interrupted when someone shouts out. Hey, what's going on here? Izuku, through a gap in some shrubbery, sees him. A big buff guy. He looked familiar. Sharp jaw, spiky white hair, big hands. Oh, that's Death Arms, he says. Kiyotaka play dead, whispers Toga. The boy slumps over in the window. Shit, kid, you okay? Can we outrun him? Toga asks frantically. No, but we can outturn him. Izuku is on his feet. Run. Toga follows her boy's dead sprint into the backyard. Izu charges the corner of the high fence, kicking off one wall and vaulting the other. On the other side, Izuku is scrambling to his feet, as while Toga lands with grace and continues the sprint. There's a crash behind them. This is Death Arms. I have an unconscious victim. The fence is smashed through. In pursuit of two, Death Arms is screaming into his phone. Izuku suddenly turns, pepper spray in hand. Whatever else Death Arms was going to say was interrupted the spray. Izuku feels the air rush past as he ducks a blow. Keep running, he shouts, shrugging of his bag as he leaps the front hedges. He uses the weight to rapidly change directions. The bag goes flying, smashing into a garbage can across the street, just as Izuku ducks behind a neighboring front step. Death Arms hurls himself into the front yard. He moves across the street at what could easily be 20 miles per hour. Izuku freezes. Death Arms vanishes into the backyard of the house across the street. As he gasps for breath, Izuku begins to crawl around the house he is in. Please, no one be home, please, no one be home, he whispers. After hopping another fence, Izuku morbidly sends a thanks to Bakugo for all the training and running away. Toga was freaking out. Her hand was in her mouth, the other hand holding her phone with a death grip. That was a pro hero, that was a pro hero. Where's Izuku, where's Izuku? What am I going to tell Inko? She is passing back and forth. At the train station, the meeting point if they get separated. She is not supposed to text him. She needs to text him. Did he silence his phone? Someone is gasping behind her. Whipping around, she sees him. Izu. Practically hurling herself at him, she asks, "Are you okay?" "Why, yes," he says. The two stand back and take each other in. Toga, your hand. It's bleeding. Oh, she looks down at her hand. Oops, just a nervous habit. At the same time, both spoke. "I'm sorry," Izuku starts. "Can we please just go home?" Toga blurts. Izuku stared up at the front gates of his new school. "Things will be better," he mumbles to himself over and over. He raises his foot to take the first step. A sudden force hits him. Izuku goes sprawling. "Sup, useless," shouts one of Izuku's former classmates, the one that lets him coat his head and fists in hard stones. "What were you too good for you, eh? Too now?" His friend, another former classmate, begins to laugh. "And no, I tried and you didn't get in?" The boy shifts his head with every word. "Gee, who would have thought?" "Oh, wait, literally everyone." Before he continues, a familiar voice calls out. "Izu, baby," Toga Power, walking toward them, calls out. "Who the hell are you?" Rockhead asks. In his bold attempt to be the next Bakugo, he failed to notice the courtyard get quiet. "Oh, me." She smiles. It's not a nice smile, not a Toga smile. This smile is thin and polite. No one at this school had ever seen Toga smile like that. "I'm Izu's senpai. That means if you have a problem with him, you have a problem with me." "Yeah, you think I can't take you?" Someone inhales sharply. Another person laughs. Suddenly, Iwano is aware of how quiet the courtyard was. Toga smiles again. It's a very Toga smile. "Why don't you ask around about the last person to pick a fight with me?" Turning away from him, she helps Izuku up. "Let's go find your class." With every step away Toga takes, the courtyard returns more and more to life. Izuku was having a good day. He could hear people whispering about him, but no one approached him. No one messed with him. No one stole his things. Even the teachers were, well, not nicer, but less likely to single him out. In all honesty, the last few days had been all good days. Honestly, the most eventful thing to happen since school started was a teacher pulling him aside and asking if Toga was forcing him to do stuff he didn't want to. He assured them she wasn't. Life was good. It was a beautiful Friday morning. Izuku had a good book, History of Supervillainy. Reading books like this was the closest he could get to being a villain. After what happened last week, he just couldn't risk it. Maybe he should request a book on heroic fundamentals next. Morning Toga calls with a lot less energy than usual. Looking up, he sees her. Not his friend Toga, just Toga, but Muketsu Toga. Hair in neat buns, nails missing the usual red paint. It was alarming to say the least. Izuku closes his book. He opens his mouth. Toga, speaking before Izuku can formulate his thought, proclaims, "I hate my parents. They're all, a Muketsu must be presentable in public. Bullshit. But I though." "Yeah," she spits out, "I did too." Crossing her arms, she scowls. Not at Izuku, never Izuku. "Whatever, let's just get to class." Izuku couldn't tell you what they covered in school that morning. He was too busy thinking. Why? Why didn't it work? If even saving a family heirloom couldn't do it. Did I do all this for nothing? Maybe if I... No. What if? That would never work. What could he do? What? The answer to that question, like many questions, came from a teacher. Or more accurately, the research paper that Midoriya wrote with a big fat 100% on it. Oh, Izuku smiled. This he could work with. Once he got home, he began writing. He wrote like a man possessed. Staring at the finished article, he wondered who should he sign it as. Surely, not Midoriya. Izuku. Anyone who looked him up would simply see a kid. His arguments would be immediately discredited for that reason alone. Suddenly, he heard a door slam open, then voices. Izuku tensed. Was it the cops? Pro heroes? Death arms? Suddenly, Toga shouted, "Motherfucking cocksuckers!" Izuku fell out of his chair, scrambled to his door, out and down the hall. "What happened?" he shouted as Toga came into view. Next to her was the old swear jar. Mama Inko had felt the need to create it after the special mix of Bakugan's vernacular and Toga's expressiveness started to influence Izuku's manner of speaking. Toga had tears in her eyes. Something was very, very wrong. "Would you like some tea?" asked Inko. "Then how about you tell us what's wrong?" Izuku chimes in, "Why don't we sit down on the couch?" The futon couch was worn. The Midoriyas don't even know how long they have had it. Hisashi dragged it with him when the two moved in together. Even then, the wood of the armrests was worn. Its green futon was covered in patches. It creaked when the two sat down. Toga sat their eyes ahead. "The Mutetsus are transferring me," she said quietly. "Oh," Izuku said back. Toga leaned into Izuku and wrapped her arms around him. "I start Monday." Inko, having been listening from the kitchen, chimed in. "And you don't want to leave our Izuku." "And I don't want to leave you guys." "I don't want you to leave either," Izuku said quietly. Can I run away and live here?" "No, dear, Mrs. Midoriya answered from the kitchen. "This is the first place they would look. But you can still visit and spend the night whenever you want." Yes, Izuku. I mean, your bed's still here," he says while patting the futon below them. Toga laughed through her tears. "I packed a bag, so am ready to stay the weekend." "Fuck yeah," Izuku said quietly. "Swear jar," Inko called. Toga handed him a 200 yen coin. Izuku held up the coin. Mrs. Midoriya zipped the coin to her hand, using her quirk, and placed it into the jar. Monday was going to suck, but they still had that weekend, and no matter what, they still had each other. Izuku stared up at the front gates of his school. This was going to suck. "Sup, useless," called the voice of Iwano. Something hard hit him from behind. Using the momentum, the blow gave him. Izuku moved several steps forward. Someone's fingers hooked onto his wrist. The momentum carried him into a spin. Facing Izuku was, among others, Bakugan's old lackey, the one who could control the length a number of joints in his fingers. Another was Noragute. He thankfully hadn't bulked up yet. In the center was Iwano. "Oh, yep," said Noragute succinctly. "See, can we just talk this out? I mean, I don't want to be a hero. I know my place, please." As Izuku rambled, his three assailants walked towards him. They began to surround him. "Word on the street," began Iwano, "is that you're a attached bitch." Izuku didn't know what happened. It was like his body moved, and now he was playing catch-up. Iwano was clutching his nose. Izuku's hand stung a little. Izuku was suddenly pulled off his feet. Noragute had him by the backpack. Time seemed to slow down. As Izuku tipped backwards, he manages to slip out of his backpack. Breaking his fall with his arms, he found himself on his back. Mamote was running towards him. Izuku didn't kick him in the knee. That could seriously injure someone, maybe even break something if Mamote was unlucky. Izuku, however, did kick him in the balls. Mamote began to topple forward. Izuku had another leg to push him in the opposite direction. Rolling onto his feet, he suddenly found himself grabbed into a chokehold by a pair of big meaty arms. Iwano was slowly approaching, his knuckles coated in stones. Time began to speed up. Izuku was panicking. Heart pounding, Izuku slammed his head upward. He heard a crunch. The arms around his neck vanished. A fist flew towards him. As Izuku ducked, he noticed the knee flying towards him. The blow grazed him as he rolled back with all his might. He tasted copper. Noragute was thankfully too busy with his nose broken to notice Izuku so close to his feet. That didn't stop Izuku from bodily hurling himself back the way he came. Izuku realized his newest mistake a moment too late to dodge that punch to the stomach. He couldn't breathe. He needed space. Iwano found himself stumbling back after Izuku pushed him away with his leg. Somehow Izuku had lost a shoe. That would make running difficult. Iwano's made punching his upper body a bad idea, given that his head and forearms could be covered in stones at any moment. Izuku shot his bare foot out, using a roundhouse kick to hook the back of Iwano's knee. Izuku smiled as Iwano crumpled. Suddenly someone was between them. Sensei Henkin was shouting, "What are you doing?" It was Midoriya. Iwano spoke first. "He attacked us out of nowhere." Henkin's cold stare turned to Midoriya. "Is this true?" "And no, Sensei. Really, because from where I'm standing it looks like you broke at least on student's nose. But I'm taking you to the office. The rest of you, the nurse is already on her way." As Izuku walked to the principal, shoe in hand back, surviving backpack strap over one shoulder, a thought struck him. He won a fight. A 3-on-1 fight. Izuku was lucky to not be expelled. That's what everyone kept telling him. When his mom said it, she at least acknowledged that he wouldn't have started the fight. It unfortunately didn't change the fact that this was the only high school his situation allowed him to feasibly attend. His mom had also added, travel, school expenses, and quirkism was a bastard. The Real Cause of Villainous Quirks by Mikumo Akatani. The ability to explode things at a glance. The ability to generate noxious gas. Gaining strength from drinking blood. One of these is not like the others. One is a heroic quirk, the rest villainous quirks. But is that truly the case? Heroes often shed blood, so why can't a hero use that as a source of strength? Why does this quirk dictate what its owner must do? How many of us have quirks that let us type faster or work a cash register? Yet most of us have done at least one of those things. The ability to generate noxious gas could likewise equally serve a hero or a villain. Look at the likes of Midnight or Miss Joke, two respectable heroes with gas-based abilities. Surely there is room for one more hero with a similar quirk. Such a quirk could also be a godsend to a pest control company with the proper type of license. The ability to generate explosions is different from those other two quirks, not for its lack of villainous application, as it can be just as deadly as the other two. No, the critical difference is how people view it. One person is lauded as a natural-born hero, while the other is treated as a villain waiting to happen. One has their actions excused so not to ruin their chances at heroics. The other has every action placed under a microscope. It's no wonder some snap or can't find a job and get desperate. But even knowing the statistics, I still feel safer walking down a dark alley with someone who is hyper-aware of the consequences of their actions than a literal bomb just waiting for an excuse to go off. They had published it. They had published it. Sure, it was only published as an opinion piece, and sure, it was under a fake name, but it was his work. In a newspaper. This was a contender for the greatest day of his life. As he read the paper for the third time today, he smiled. Suddenly, as if to spite him, his phone chimed. Once, then twice, then 3 times. Opening his phone, he saw the news alert. UA Auxiliary Building attacked, 3 injured. On that's not good, Izuku thinks. Kiyotaka Furushima was going to do it. The bullying, made all the worse after the Osage attack, had finally pushed him too far. He was ready to do it. He had a gas mask. He had his bike helmet. The only thing he didn't have was a gun, but he had a knife. Mustard, not Kiyotaka Furushima, was going to show them all. Packing his bag, he felt his arms shaking. He almost skipped his breakfast shake. Mustard knew better then that it was going to be a busy day. Mustard wheeled his bike out front, avoiding looking at the shrubbery. It reminded him of his only real mistake. The only 2 people willing to stick their necks out for him. And he almost got arrested. Well, he was doing things for himself now. Hey, a voice called Kiyotaka. Mustard froze, turning his head. He saw a green-haired boy, freckled, and wearing a white t-shirt with the words, turtleneck sweater over a gray long-sleeved shirt. Kiyotaka groaned internally. Whatever this stranger wanted, whatever humiliation he was about to face, he couldn't act, not yet. What? He said flatly and coldly. I have some questions about your quirk. My quirk? Why do you need to know about my quirk? He snapped. I need your help with something. And why should I help you? Because you owe me one. He glanced around before he spoke again, more quietly. You almost got me arrested. Mustard's eyes went wide. He got off his bike. Walk with me. What do you need to know? You told me your gas is toxic, capable of knocking people out in high enough concentration. Over how large an area can you produce that concentration? I don't know, maybe a high school gymnasium, Mustard said, low-balling it. What about in higher quantities? Are there other effects? It's lethal. My quirk doctor did a spectra analysis thing. We will need to avoid that, he mumbled. In a more conversational volume, he continued. How much control do you have over your gas? Rotation and direction it wafts. He hesitated before continuing. I can also sense what's inside it. That's amazing. Can you use the control to quickly get the gas out of an area? I don't need to. It breaks down in seconds when I'm not controlling it consciously. That's perfect. Just what I needed. What exactly do you need? Have you read this? The stranger handed him a copy of Tokyo Today, a known quirkiest newspaper. On of its pages was dogered. The actual real cause of villainous quirks. Have you ever heard of a hero who drinks blood? How about one who puppets his victims around like a demented showman? Could you ever conceive of feeling safe when your home or business is filled with toxic gas? According to some unique minds like that of Mikumo Akatani, you should have. The attitude of people like Mikumo is not only ridiculous but dangerous. The Uschi attack proves that this country has been too soft on criminals. If you have an evil quirk, it drives you to do evil. As anyone can. Attest, even in middle school, there was always that one disturbed individual who insisted on using his quirk despite the danger it causes. Those urges twist the mind into something vile. How else could you explain 50 villains from attacking literal children? Yet people like Mikumo, probably a villain himself, insists it is not only safe, but a great idea to avoid heroes by going down dark alleys filled with muggers, and who knows what else. Mustard looks up. Why are you showing me this? Because I want to ruin them, he said with confidence. Hey fart man, a particularly annoying voice called. You denayed one of Mustard's biggest bullies. Who's your stupid friend? Omi am nobody special. The stranger spoke first, just asking direction. Well, keep away from that guy. He has lethal farts. Really? The backstabbing traitor asked while stepping away from Mustard. Yeah, Utaniade laughed, a couple. Weeks ago, some losers tried to rob him, more laughter. He farted so bad he passed out. Oh wow. What's your quirk then? If you're not affiliating with him, it must be pretty cool, the backstabber said, while walking up to Utaniade. Oh yeah, I can make an unbreakable force field around my head. What's your quirk? Oh suddenly the stranger shot a fist out to Utanade's gut, quirkless. Utanaide between gasping breath went for a headbutt. Mustard knew from experience how much those hurt. The blow never connected as the stranger ducked around him. Before Mustard's bully could turn, he suddenly fell to the ground. Then a kick went to his gut. Hey Kiyotaka. If this guy gives you trouble again, let me know. I'll talk to you later. He then began jogging away. Kiyotaka looked down at his tormentor and smiled. Man, he's crazy, isn't he? It sure is a good thing that he is such a good friend of mine. Utanaide, for his part, continued to wheeze. Well, Kiyotaka continued with his dull inflection, see you at school. As Kiyotaka locked up his bike before what promised to be a normal, maybe even good day of school, his phone buzzed. Meet me here Saturday 11 p.m., it simply said, with a screen grab off Google Maps. You want to what? Toga asked, stopping her swing. Izuku centered himself, want to shut down Tokyo today's business for at least 2 weeks. Okay, cool, Toga said, while being decidedly uncool. Isn't that a little ambitious? Izuku tilts his head. Not really, it's a straightforward plan. Use Kiyotaka to knock out any guards, steal some computers, and loosen a few bolts. This is something anyone could come up with. Toga, for her part, began to think about what she would tell Inko. I'm sorry, Miss Midoriya, this was all my fault. I gave him the idea to be a villain. She wondered if that excuse would work for the cops too. So are you in? Toga would have to go to prison. She would have to fight the toughest looking person in the yard. If it's any consolation, there would be blood. Perked up, of course. You and me against the world. She held up her knuckles. Izuku hit them with force. Toga looked up at the Tokyo Today building. It was 3 stories and brick. If she was an architecture buff, she would have recognized the building as Western Revivalist, a style that was all the rage 60 years ago. Hello? A voice called out. There was Kiyotaka wheeling a bicycle toward them. He was wearing a helmet. Hi, Izuku called cheerfully. You guys brought gas masks, right? I only have the one. Yep, Izuku says as he shifts around his bag to pull out an old umbrella, a cheap gas mask often used by painters. Something made out of a 2-liter soda bottle, some medical face masks. After tossing the first mask to Toga, she asks him, is that one going to actually do anything? It's got activated charcoal in it. Good enough, said Kiyotaka. Everyone ready? Asked Izuku. No, actually, said Kiyotaka. Names. Oh, Yumam, I don't know. Nobody, right? Asked Kiyotaka. Sure, said Nobody too quickly. Oh, it'll be Crimson, said Crimson excitedly. Mustard, said Mustard. Great. Nobody inspected his friend's Crimson's identity, was securely hidden behind the gas mask and a dark beanie cap. Mustard's gas mask covered his eyes with a large clear piece of plastic. Between that and his bike helmet, he looked anonymous enough. Nobody, for his part, put on his tattered baklava, 2 medical face masks, then the rest of his gas mask. You guys should have helmets, Mustard said. That's a good idea, said Nobody, for next time. Leaping into the air, Nobody hooking the umbrella onto the fire escape above them. With a loud clatter, the ladder slammed down. The three of them froze. Then hesitantly Nobody began to climb. Near the edge of the roof, Nobody suddenly ducked his head. The other two quickly followed suit. There's a camera. Quietly Nobody began to mumble. Why wouldn't there be a camera? I'm so stupid. Crimson grabbed him by the shoulders. Is Nobody, what are we going to do? Ka. Mustard, can you waft your gas to that AC unit over there? Mustard slowly raised his head. Yes, but some will get everywhere. It's dark, we can pass it off as fog. Okay, ready? Yes. Go for it. A thick purple fog began to emanate from Mustard. Half of it working its way onto the roof, the rest falling of the side of the building in a great waterfall of mist. It was oddly beautiful. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. Mustard speaks. Okay, 2 guards slumped to the ground floor. On in the security room. Hasn't moved in 45 seconds. The gas thins greatly. Keeping this just right is going to take most of my concentration. Nobody got up, hoisted himself onto the roof, and walked to the door. He felt good. The plan had survived contact with the enemy. Now the door. Wire cutters, bobby pins, a bent paper clip, a screwdriver, credit card, and 7 refrigerator magnets, duct taped together later. The door opened. Okay, if all goes according to plan, the silent alarm shouldn't have gone off. Shouldn't or didn't? Asked Mustard bluntly. Didn't, responded Nobody with far less confidence than comfortable. Let's go. T. Crimson, take Mustard to the 3rd floor writer's room. Take all the computer terminals. I'll take care of the printing presses. Mustard stumbled going down the stairs. The light fog of gas began to ooze down the stairs. Instead of the air vent, the fog thinned further. I got you, big guy, said Crimson as she began to lead Mustard around. 15 minutes, here's my duffel bag, Nobody tersely commands. As Nobody slipped down the stairs, he felt his pulse pounding. This was crazy. This was working. This was crazy. This was working. Slipping through the door, he spotted a security guard. Moving quickly, Nobody took his pulse. He really should have taken a better first aid class, but from what he knew and thought he knew, the pulse seemed fine. The printers were huge. If he was going in blind, he would never know how to efficiently disable them. Thankfully, you can find a lot of things online. Taking out a borrowed wrench and his screwdriver, he began getting to work. A removed bolt here, a power cord pulled there, some wires removed from the control box. He had gotten to all but one of the machines when he heard a buzz. 15 minutes. Nobody. Crimson and Mustard met at the top of the stairs. Their bags weighed down. As Nobody shifted one onto his shoulder, he asked, How many? 20. Crimson supplied. Nobody could hear the smile in her voice. Slipping outside and back down, Mustard cut his fog at some point when exciting the building. Handing the gas masks off to Mustard, he stuffed them into the bag he was given. Meet up in a week, said Crimson. Saturday? Yes. He biked off in one way. The other two walked off in another. Izuku felt happy and proud until he saw Monday's headline. Villains silence newspaper. Izuku felt frustrated. He needed to figure out what went wrong. Try as he might, he couldn't figure it out. He felt horrible. Maybe a gentle criminal video would help him feel better. As he opened up YouTube and clicked onto the search bar, it hit him. Publicity. He needed to find a way to control the narrative. Clicking off YouTube, he opened Tor and created another email. 123 email at megamail.com. Opening up YouTube in a new tab, he created a new account. Nobody special. He began commenting on every gentle criminal video he could find. Gentle, how can I do what you do? Gentle, can we meet? Gentle, I'm a big fan and want to do what you do. Gentle, how do I get started? The lovely La Brava was checking their newest YouTube account when a comment notification popped up. Usually, she mutes comment notifications, but she must have missed one. It was one of their oldest videos. Gentle, I could use your advice. I want to do what you do. Commented one, nobody special. Getting hacking. La Brava quickly found his email and began tracing back to its source. Looks like a VPN, as the account bounced around from North China Federation, the USA, United Scotland, then back to Japan. Since Gentle was mostly big in Japan, that didn't mean much digging deeper. She found his IP address. Tracing that left her in a neighborhood Musutafu. Not very useful. It could be anyone if this 7-block area. And it's not like she knew what this nobody looked like, so she couldn't just stalk CCTV cameras until she spotted him. It worked for Gentle, but not here. Email it was. Booting up Tor, then her own programs, she shot the guy an email from a burner account. 1. Who are you? 2. Why should we help you? 3. Why do you want out help? 4. How can we trust you? Just as she was about to hit send, Gentle walked into the room. What are we doing, my dear? His voice sent a shiver down her spine. Turning her head to look at her beautiful savior, she said, a persistent fan has been asking for advice and trying to vet him. Excellent work, La Brava. If I may, I would like to make a few additions. Of course, dear. She pushed her chair of her desk, letting her chair spin her a bit. Something you just don't outgrow. She watched as Gentle slowly typed out. Hello, sir or madam. It's wonderful to hear from a fan. If I may, I have a few questions. 5. What kind of tea do you like? Thank you for your time. Gentle and La Brava. Izuku was hyperventilating. He got an email from the gentle criminal mere minutes after he commented. Part of it was being starstruck, part of it was how they found his email already. He needed to lie down. Hello, Gentle and La Brava. 1. Nobody, you probably haven't heard of me, as I am new. The guy responsible for shutting down Tokyo Today. 2. After I shut down Tokyo Today, the media really tore me to pieces. 3. When I say your video about the coffee shop and typing the staff, the speech you gave pulled me out of a dark place. I've been trying to help people like you helped me. 4. Am not sure how to prove that you can trust me, as we don't know each other. I'm sorry. 5. I like green tea. I haven't had the opportunity to try Golden Tips Imperial Tea. Gentle and La Brava looked at the response. I'm not entirely sure about his taste in tea, but he sounds truthful enough, said Gentle. I guess we should help him. La Brava commented, but hold off on meeting him for now. Dear Nobody, or do you prefer Mr. Special? What would you like to know about the craft? Sincerely, Gentle and La Brava. Dear Gentle and La Brava, nobody is fine. I would like to know everything about your craft. Sincerely, Nobody. Dear Nobody. Let's start with internet security. Nice use of Tor, but it only took me an hour to nail down your location to a 7-block radius. Sincerely, La Brava. After 20 minutes of waiting, the pair shot another email. Dear Nobody. Sorry about the fright. La Brava can be quite intimidating in her field of expertise. Sincerely, Gentle. The email chain went back and forth late into the night. Izuku was getting fidgety. It had been a month since that first email chain with Gentle and La Brava. Since then, they had been wonderful help in teaching him the craft. However, Izuku still hadn't found a new target. Outside of beating up a couple of Mustard's bullies, he hadn't done anything particularly. Izuku paused his thought. Should he call it villainous? Heroic? Anti-villainous? Izuku never thought he would be thankful for being quirkless, but not a single bully had the guts to confess to a teacher they got beat up by someone without a quirk. You all right? Toga's voice cut through his thoughts. The sports festival is about to start, and you're a mile away. Oh, thank you, Toga. I don't see why we have to watch this. Complained Kiyotaka. It's just a bunch of egotistic jerks. The couch in Toga's living room was large enough that they could spread out. Izuku and Toga's legs were tangled together and Kiyotaka was sitting against one of the arm rests. The TV was by no means fancy, but a lot bigger and with better resolution than the Midoriya's TV. Look, there's Bakubich. The trio watched as Bakugo approached the podium. A new scare crossed his cheek. I pledge that I will be the number one. The blonde bastard then walked of the stage as the entire student body heckled him. Toga began to laugh loudly. That guy is a tool, said Kiyotaka. I know, right, shrieked Toga. Izuku began to laugh as well. You know this guy? Asked Kiyotaka. Oh yeah, went to school together, responded Izuku. The sports festival was good fun. Mustard especially. Confetti hidden under the dirt or something. The trio took bets on the cavalry battle. Toga and Kiyotaka loosing half the licorice sticks they had split between them to Izuku. The one-on-one fights were pretty intense. Both Toga and Kiyotaka learned their lesson about bets, but still had fun calling out who they thought would win. Kiyotaka, sometimes changing his call 3 times in a single round. Izuku watched as Endeavor's kid buried the steel guy under a mountain of ice, then began thawing him out with a flame. Then in the penultimate fight, he watched as a girl with expanding hands, with some sort of strength aspect, maybe expanding and contracting her muscles with her size adjusting quirk, fought Endeavor's son again. As the fight dragged on, Izuku watched as Todoroki began to get more and more lethargic. This doesn't make any sense, said Izuku. He is shivering. So? Asked Toga, knowing her friend was just waiting for an opportunity to talk about quirks. So he can make fire. He should be countering the cold with it. Maybe he can't use both at once, suggested Kiyotaka. It took less than 3 seconds for him to switch. After his last round, he has a few moments where he could flare some fire just. Toga chimed in, plus, it seemed like he was just waiting for the round to be declared over. This doesn't make sense, why wouldn't he want to win? Well, Toga suggested. Endeavor gives me major controlling parent vibes. Does that really justify this? Asked Kiyotaka. Izuku got quiet. He starts, heard about Endeavor's son Taya dying a while back in a forest fire. That never made sense to me. Izuku continues, wouldn't Endeavor be able to do a controlled burn of the surrounding woods before the actual flames get to them? And why would Taya, a fire user, be susceptible to flames? A long pause. Sports festival forgotten. Toga breaks it. You don't think Endeavor is abusive, do you? She continues. I mean, he always seems so obsessed with beating All Might. Who is to say his obsession didn't drive him to do? The rest is left unsaid. Fayumi was being followed home. She could feel the eyes on the back of her neck. She could see someone short wearing a medical mask as if they were sick and a beanie cap. Dialed 911 on her phone and readied her quirk. Turning down an alley, she played the role of bait. Excuse me, miss. She threw ice at him, encasing his lower half. It became cold. She hated the cold. What do you want? Fayumi began to shiver. Are you okay? I'm fine, she snaps. Oh, okay. I have some questions for you about your dad. 2 people shivering in an alley, she thinks. She says, that none of your business. And she turns and talks away. Dear Gentle and La Brava, I have been investigating a lead for something and could use your help. I need to find out which dorm room and building a student lives in. 1 Todoroki Natsuo. If you are worried he is not my target, I just need to ask him some questions. Sincerely. Nobody. Dear Nobody. We have talked and decided we just aren't comfortable giving you the information. What questions do you need asked? Sincerely Gentle and La Brava. Dear Gentle and La Brava, I am investigating if Endeavor is an abusive father, as I have recently encountered some circumstantial evidence that leads me to that conclusion. Please ask questions to the effect of 1. What do you think of your father? 2. Why do you think that? 3. What do your siblings think of him? 4. And if you can approach this with tact. What happened to your brother Taoya? He is dead. The response came a week later. Dear Nobody, I regret to inform you that you were not only right, but it goes deeper than you could imagine. Accusations of quirk marriages, driving children to train to death, and parental neglect have all come up. We even have spoken to his mother and younger brother. They both were willing to confirm the story on camera. Perhaps it's time for a collaboration. Sincerely, Gentle and La Brava. What followed was a suggestion of a meeting time and place. After some back and forth, a meeting place was selected. Izuku was very conflicted. On one hand, he was unfortunately right, and Endeavor was a monster. But on the other hand, he was going to meet Gentle and La Brava. His friends looked less conflicted. Toga crestfallen and Mustard vindicated. Just then Toga nudged Nobody. There at the other side of the park was a tall blonde in a polka dot tie and a very short redhead. One wore a medical mask and the other a scarf. Izuku gave his friends a once-over. Tiyataka was wearing a medical mask as well as a baseball cap. Toga had her hair done up, wore sunglasses, and had makeup to slightly darken her skin and contour her cheeks. Izuku was wearing a pair of fake glasses from a dollar store and cheap washout brown hair dye. Auntie, Nobody called out as the trio approached. He watched as the Gentle did a double take. You're a lot younger than I pictured, Mr. Nobody, said Gentle. Thank you, said Crimson. To business, said La Brava. Just a moment, my dear. Cut in Gentle. My dear fellows, he said, turning to the trio. Are you working alone, or do you have some sort of adult supervision? Would it matter? Asked Crimson. It very much would, as I cannot abide by such young children working in such a dangerous field alone. Well, Crimson is cut off, my Nobody. We don't have anyone else. Gentle looked at them, profound sadness in his eyes. I'm sorry to hear. It's tough going alone in life. His mom's fine cuts and Mustard. The rest of our parents. I once went 3 months without talking to them, said Crimson. Now Gentle looked mad. Before he could speak, La Brava cuts in. You know our names, why don't you tell us a little about you three? She smiles. Crimson speaks. I like blood, call me Crimson. That's Mustard, he technically qualifies as the muscle. And that's Nobody, he is really smart. No quirk descriptions? No, said Crimson. Gentle looks to La Brava, perhaps a show of faith. Turning back to the trio, La Brava speaks. The more I love someone, the stronger they become whenever I confess my feelings. A pause. I can shapeshift into someone when I drink their blood. I can create noxious gas. Nobody continues to hesitate. My quirk situation is embarrassing. Nothing to be ashamed of, my lad. Nobody speaks again. Can I get your autographs? Gentle chuckles, of course. Soon La Brava speaks. Okay, now to business. The job was simple. There were 7 billboards featuring Endeavor within 3 blocks of his agency. They were going to deface them all. The camera rolls. Gentle speaks. Greetings, my dear friends and viewers. It is I, the Gentle Criminal, with a special guest star today, Nobody special. The camera pans to a small person wearing a baklava, dark gray shirt, brown work gloves, dark blue pants, and red sneakers. Today we have uncovered shocking news about the number 2 hero. In protest of his actions, we shall be creating 7 new public art installations around his agency. Gentle crouches low, so nobody can piggyback off him. The two fly away into the night, as Gentle nimbly jumps across the sky. The camera cuts. Todoroki Shoto is sitting in a chair. You promised to send this to every newspaper in the country. That and more. A female voice responds. Shoto looks to the camera and takes a deep breath. My father is not a good man. Every day since I was 4, he would train me all day to surpass All Might. The camera cuts. Nobody is standing on thin air, spraying a billboard with the word abuser. Back to Shoto. I never really knew my brother Tauya. He was isolated from the rest of us until my quirk came in. Then I was isolated from my siblings in turn. Another billboard, slave driver. Shoto. I think my left side is ugly. It looks like my father. How did you get that scare? Asks the camera woman. My mother snapped on Day. She thought I looked like him. A new billboard. What does your wife think? A new person. Could you have introduced yourself to the camera? The woman is in a hospital gown, sitting up in a hospital bed. Hello, I'm Todoroki Ray. Please call me Ray. What can you tell me about Enji? She looks away into the distance. He was so charming. He made me feel like a princess. When he proposed, how could I say anything but yes? Things didn't get bad until Tauya was born. The next billboard. Was it worth it? Back to Ri. Tauya's death was. It was Enji's fault. He dedicated my baby's life to a goal only to throw him away when Shoto was born. Billboard, murderer. Ray. I didn't mean to hurt him. I just snapped on Day. Shoto, if you're hearing this, I understand why you don't visit. The next billboard is different. Gentle can be heard gasping for air, while nobody takes his time scribbling all over it. Shoto. He wanted me to surpass All Might, but I refused to do it using his power. Do you even want to be a hero? Shoto has no response. The last billboard simply reads, You will never be All Might. The editing of this video was taking longer than any other video. So many cuts. So much footage to work with. Her computer chimed with a notification. It's from nobody. Check the news, don't post video. On La Brava's preferred news site is an article about some guy named Stain. At the end of article is a video of some guy dressed in rags, fighting a water-controlling hero, an Ignium, and some guy dressed like a Native American. The article keeps on referencing a speech, but doesn't actually include it. This society overgrown with fake heroes, where the word itself has lost its true meaning, and the criminals who wave their power around idly should all be purged. The next day, nobody sends another email. Can we fit in one more clip? Attacked is a video file. After listening to the video, La Brava shoots back, good speech, kid. Thank you, Crimson did most of the writing. What will soon be the Gentle Criminal's most influential video ends as such. Nobody sits in a dark room. Hi, he says in a cheerful voice. I'm nobody special, and I want to talk to you about what you just say. Yes, Endeavor is a dirt bag who deserves to be booted from the ranking and to have his family taken away, but stopping him from being a hero, and as some would suggest, killing him is a bad idea. So many people aren't saved. Every day someone slips under the radar. It might even be you watching this. But the answer isn't less heroes. I think the answer is being your own hero. The sad truth is sometimes nobody saves you, not even me. You have to be prepared to save people. Dabai couldn't believe it. He had been staring at the paper for 10 minutes. Hey, someone calls. You going to buy that or just keep staring? Who? Yeah. Robotically, he puts coins into the slot. The headline read, Endeavor Abuse Scandal. And it was there, all there. Mom, his replacement, even him. Part of Dabai was sad that he didn't get to ruin the bastard himself, but the rest was relieved. A weight had been lifted. He could suddenly breathe easier. The scandal was brought to the news' attention by an unnamed party that wishes to remain anonymous. He would have to ask Jurin to do some digging. Endeavor made many mistakes in his life. Many he didn't know about. More still, he didn't think were mistakes. Today, his biggest mistake was doing what he does every day. Wait until he is in the office to read the paper. As he drove into work, he saw a crowd of people gathered outside his agency. Some fans, he thought, as he pulled into the underground parking garage, exiting the elevator. Part of him thought the building was quieter than usual. He frowned as he walked to his personal office. Sitting down behind his large desk, he unfolded the paper. Just as his eyes centered on an article about housing prices, his head sidekick burst in. "Is it true?" Vernon shouts at the top of her lungs. Endeavor threw down his paper. Duty waits for no man. He stood up and began to speak. "Vernon, what is it? Is it true?" Quite wasting time. Something in Vernon shifted like a fire smothered. Her voice was quite. "Tell me you didn't conceive multiple children just to beat All Might." Endeavor's mouth flapped once. Just once. A true hero is ready for anything. All Might can't last forever, someone has to be ready to. Vernon's fire is back. "I don't give a shit about your stupid justifications." She flips over his paper force. Loose pages fly in every direction. The front page is slammed down. Endeavor abuse scandal. "What?" Vernon continues. "Do you have any idea what I've had to deal with this morning? Half of the agency is ready to walk out. I've seen 3 sidekicks applying for other agencies just on the walk to your office." Vernon looks pleading now. "Please, boss, just, is it true?" Endeavor read through the test. "Whoever wrote this is a bitter and misinformed individual. My marriage to my wife was completely consensual. How dare they bring Talia into this? His death was a tragic training accident. Boss, no one is going to buy what you're selling. They have multiple first-hand accounts, and your account isn't disproving anything." The last few words are tinged with a panic. "Vernon, a level head is paramount to hero work," says Endeavor absent-mindedly as he slowly sinks back into his chair. Right. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Stay here, don't open your curtains. As far as anyone needs to know, you're not here. I'll talk to the PR guys and the lawyers. Just stay here." As Endeavor sat in his office, trying to wrap his head around the fact that his life and dreams were collapsing around him, he decided to do something he hadn't done since he was 15. Endeavor opened the funny pages. Later, Endeavor looked up from the paper as the door opened. Vernon walked in, having aged visibly since he last saw her. "Okay, boss. There's good news and bad news. The bad news is you're fucked. Absolutely fucked. But if we play our card right, the agency doesn't have to go down with you." "What do you mean?" Endeavor's voice was soft. "I mean transfer the agency to me. We rebrand. The agency stands. If the agency stands, we can keep you. Not on the streets, agency insurance, early pension, no one has to know. And you came up with this idea. No one of the lawyers, or was it one of the PR guys? They all blurred together after hour 5. Oh. It has merit. You said yourself All Might can't stand forever. Whatever individual tries to replace him will fall short. But as a team, our agency collectively has him beat on arrests, rescues, and investigation statistics." Endeavor looked down at his desk. "Where do I sign?" Nedzu was not happy. Not happy at all. When the news of Endeavor's actions reached his desk, he spit out perfectly good tea. It took him 1-2 seconds to calm down enough to act. Step 1, verify. Flipping on his monitor, he began to search for the Todoroki boy. "They're just walking in." Pressing a button on his desk, the manual controls for all classification M robots slid out. Selecting Robot 278, Nedzu had it head off Todoroki. "Young Todoroki, please report to my office," the robot said in Nedzu's voice. Nedzu estimated he had 5 minutes and 59 seconds before the boy would arrive. More than enough time to schedule a meeting. Eraserhead would have underground connections, and his unassuming appearance would make him perfect for hands-on investigation. Snipe has a large amount of experience with detective work and a gift for unconventional thinking. In a moment of nostalgia, Nedzu also sent Sir Nightai an invitation for the 11 o'clock meeting. Looking at his clock, Nedzu was happy to see he had another 2 minutes 29 seconds. Nedzu took a sip of his tea and just breathed. His door opened, simply because Nedzu allowed it to be open. "You wanted to see me?" asked his student. "Hello, Todoroki. I was hoping you could answer some questions for me. Was the things you said true about your father? Would it matter?" "Very much so, I assure you." "It's true." Nedzu was afraid of that. "I see." "Oh goodness," the principal continues. "Where are my manners? Would you like some tea?" "No thank you, sir." "Very well." Nedzu takes a sip of his tea. "Now, were you aware that the person interviewing you was a villain? I assure you, you will not be in trouble no matter the answer." "No, I didn't." Several emotions flash over Todoroki's face. "She said she was a reporter." "How did you meet her?" "She approached me or the street." "I see. Can you tell me what she looked like?" "Tall, blue hair." "Thank you. That will be all. Now we simple have to discuss your future at this school." "I'm sorry." Todoroki, being a hero is a dangerous field. It would be unfair to have you continue down this path when you're not even sure you want to be here. For the next few months, you will be transferred to Gen Ed and will be seeing our counselor once a week. Okay, something changed about the boy's posture. "Talk with my secretary about the details. I have a meeting I must be attending." As the student turns to leave, Nedzu is struck with an impulsive thought. "And Shadow, I'm sorry this happened to you." The boy made a grunt. As Nedzu made his way through his tunnels, he reflected on the interaction. Social interactions often eluded him. It's a good thing he keeps a camera in his office. He can send footage of important interactions to trust individuals to look over. Sitting down in his meeting chair, Nedzu began to do research on this gentle criminal. Snipe was first to arrive. "Howdy," he said. "How do you do indeed," responded Nedzu. Minutes later, Eraserhead walked through the door. "Excellent, let us begin," said the principal. Snipe raised his hand. "Is this everyone?" "Unfortunately, none. Your associate I had invented has a prior commitment." Eraserhead speaks. "But why are we here?" "I'm sure you all have heard the news about Endeavor. We are here to investigate this gentle criminal and his associate. Namely one nobody special." "Couldn't this have been an email?" asked Eraserhead. "No." Nedzu says chipperly. So Snipe drawls. "What do we know about these?" Snipe begins to move his hands in circles. "They are villains," Nedzu answers. "Up until recently, Gentle and his partner La Brava have entertained themselves off of petty theft, while painting themselves as Robin Hood figures." While Nedzu is talking, Eraserhead and Snipe begin to open the files in front of them. Gentle is a known entity. 1 Tobita Danjuro. Quirk elasticity. Failed the UA entrance exam 17 years ago. Went on to fail the non-student hero exam 3 times. Before starting a YouTube channel to broadcast his crimes. "Seriously?" asked Eraserhead. "Given that up until recently, despite his combat ability, his crimes mostly include armed robbery and assaulting heroes, I believe this nobody is the mastermind of the events of last night." Snipe speaks. "What do you mean combat ability?" "On numerous occasions, Tobita has fought off multiple pro heroes. According to various reports, his partner La Brava seems to have some form of strength augmentation quirk she can apply to Tobita." Please turn to page 7 for the police sketch. "Just a police sketch?" Eraserhead asks. "Yes, it appears La Brava has quite a talent for avoiding digital recordings. I have already interviewed Todoroki about this woman, and he gave an entirely different physical description. This implies that nobody or a fourth member has a body-changing quirk." Snipes chimes in. Or the kid could be lying. I mean, these folks seem to have done him a solid. Nezu smiles internally, an excellent point. We will need to watch him if he is so chummy with villains. Comments Eraserhead. Not necessarily. Like I said, they did him a solid, and by lying he did one back. Furthermore, Nezu cuts in. He is no longer a hero student until he can more clearly decide what he wants to do. But we shall keep an eye on him all the same. Joshi Samui was not having a good day. On its best day, running the HPSC was stressful. But now the number 2 hero had to get his dirty laundry aired to the entire country. Mark her words, the people responsible were going down. Ma'am, one of her assistants speaks, the summaries of the Todoroki family interviews. Thank you, she says softly. Joshi made it a policy to be nice to anyone in a position to poison her coffee. The report said that Natsuo claimed to be approached by an old bald man about his father's corruption, while Ray claimed a green-haired woman interviewed her. Either someone was lying, or this gentle criminal had more people working with him than intel suggested. The report went on to say that Fayumi, the daughter, was approached by a small young adult, possibly teenager, wearing long sleeves, gloves, a surgical mask, and large beanie cap, effectively hiding his identity. She noted his eyes were green. Her assistant was still there. We are putting together a task force, contact clairvoyance, dreamer, and whoever the next highest investigation hero is. That isn't the rat. Yes, ma'am. Hey, Death Arms, hey, Mizushima, called out Miss Joke as she entered the office. What's the word? Death Arms speaks. I'm putting together an investigation, and you two are the best I know at this kind of stuff. Who are we investigating? The guy who stole your shirt. That joke got old the third time you said it. Oh, how many times has it been? 87. Death Arms attempts to deadpan while wrestling back a smile. Okay, seriously, look, you know that guy? The one with the other guy, gentle. Miss Joke is looking at him despite what some people think she knows when it's time for business. I think I've seen him before. I ran into this house break-in when I was off the clock. 2 perps in ski masks. He has the build of one of them. That's a bit of a thin lead, chimes in Manuel. Do you have the case file? Asked Miss Joke. Yeah, sorry. He hands each of them a copy of the single-page report. As the two start to read, Miss Joke speaks. Hold on, purple smoke that knocks people out. Yeah, I think I've seen that quirk. On the security footage of Tokyo today. They had a break-in about a month ago. The security guard got incapacitated by dark smoke wafting through the vents. Death Arms smiles. Now we are getting somewhere, but why would the kid help people who robbed him? Manuel again speaks up. It says here the kid's quirk is actually a toxic gas. Maybe he wanted to look like a hero by staging a robbery he could stop. I hear villain quirk discrimination is pretty bad these days. Like PSA bad? Asked Miss Joke. Once we finish with this investigation, we could do some sauce. Maybe find a sidekick or two. I mean, I make laughing gas, it's not so different. Let's put a pin in that, says Death Arms before literally taking out a pin and walking to one of the meeting room corkboards. Okay, back on topic, says Manuel. We have a kid who either willingly or unwillingly helped 2 criminals. One of said criminals goes on to ruin the number 2 hero's career overnight. Allegedly. Death Arms responds with a sounds about right. Okay, great, says Miss Joke. We have a train of flimsy leads to look into. And some sass to make later. Anything else we want to bring up? Well, this goes without saying, says Manuel, but nobody is quirkless. Death Arms and Miss Joke freeze. What, says one? Huh, says the other. Manuel blinks. Seriously. Quirkless people have different shaped feet than us. About 30 years ago, the company Shoe Man Group cornered the market for quirkless shoes. They only make like 2 to 3 styles of the different kinds of shoes: tennis shoes, boots, sandals, men's dress, and women's dress. Did you seriously not know that? No, why would we? Asked Miss Joke. So you can know if the villain you're facing actually has a death touch quirk or is faking it. That's happened to me. Look, nobody is wearing tennis shoe number 3. Huh, says Death Arms, good to know. Yeah, thanks, says Miss Joke. Okay, so, continues Death Arms, since I live down the block from the kid, I'll ask him some questions later today. As Furushima walked home from school, he felt happy. The hurtful words just slipped off his back like water off a duck, and Utaniade still wasn't making eye contact. Hopping off his bike, while it was still in motion, he slowed from a trot into a walk. After wheeling the bike into the family's small backyard, he inspected his bike for any damages or mud. The chain was clean, oiled and rust-free. The tires were still good. Furushima smiled and inhaled. Pulling out his phone, he texted his friend Midoriya. Can't believe you did a WoW raid without me. I can't believe we still play WoW. It's older than Quirks. The Expanse and New Sun updates both have 100% review scores. Don't change the topic. Sorry, it just worked out that way. Your AO spells just weren't what we needed. Fine, you owe me. Are we still on for TF2 tonight? Seriously, what is it with you and century-old games? 2007 to 2017 was the golden age of video games. Nothing you can say will change my mind. High Octane, True Martian, Kill for Kill, Commanders, Valley of Peace, Buildman. That one gets a pass. Destroy All Humans clone. Titanfall without the giant robots. Not an RTS guy. Have you heard of Story of Seasons? Minecraft with destruction physics. All the true groundbreaking has already happened in the first quarter of the 21st century. Everything else has been iteration. What's Minecraft? We are no longer friends. I'm going to email you a copy. As he walked through the back door of his house, he heard the doorbell. Walking up to the door, he peered out the window. It was a big man with large arms. He readied his quirk, feeling it crawl below his skin, a familiar feeling that became a comfort blanket once he stopped being disgusted by it. Hello? Furushima asked, his voice as flat as always. Hi, Kiyotaka. Do you remember me? The man asked. No, I'm sorry. It's Death Arms. I helped with that robbery a while back. Oh, sorry, it was dark and a high-octane situation. I don't have the best memory for faces, said Furushima honestly. That's all right. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions. Okay? Furushima responded hesitantly. Ask away. I would prefer to do this inside. May I come in? Furushima looked at him distrustfully. Can I see some ID? On inspection later, the two were inside. So, began Death Arms as he pulls out a pen and flip pad about that break-in. Furushima said nothing. Had you any previous interactions with the burglars? Why would you ask that? Furushima asked. No need to get defensive, kid. I'm just looking out for you. Furushima frowned. He hated it when people assigned emotions to him at random. They were burglars. Why would you think know them? Furushima could feel his pulse pounding. Fair enough. Kid, are you bullied at school? I hear some kids with unconventional quirks experience that kind of thing. It took Furushima a moment to realize he was done talking, and not just pausing again. Yes. That's harsh, kid. I'll see what I can do about that. You know, I hear some people get tired enough of dealing with it to do something drastic. Furushima inhaled involuntarily. The knife, the gas mask, his original plans. Like fake a break in so they and their quirk can appear heroic. Do you know anything about that? Oh, thank God, thanks Furushima. Yes, wait, shit, did I just admit to a crime? I don't blame you, kid. Now I know your, let's call it a project, went wrong. A hero showed up. I'm sure the people who were helping you were mad about that, and you felt the need to repay them. Is that what happened? There were those pauses again. Before Furushima could respond, Death Arms speaks again. You're not in trouble, kid. One of the perks of being a hero is you can use your judgment to not persecute sometimes. What do you want to know? What did these people look like? Should he lie? How should he lie? I know one had black hair and the other was a woman. What about their age range? I don't know, young. Were the three of you involved in the Tokyo Today break-in? Keep in mind, as long as you keep clean from now on, I'll keep it off the record. Can I get that in writing? Sure. Thing Kid Death Arms begins to write something. Pulling it out of his flip book, it reads, I Death Arms, and then a signature swear on my reputation as a hero to keep the incident Fukushima was involved in a secret, unless he is involved in other illegal activity. I still don't feel comfortable saying. Death Arms sighs, that's okay, kid, I understand. Does this group you have been involved in include somebody going by the name of Nobody? You think I know the guy who ended the #2 Heroes carrier? Not by choice, kid. You're a victim in all this. No, I can't say he ever went by the name Nobody Special in my presence. All right, kid, that's about it. Death Arms hands Fukushima a business card. Call me if you remember anything you think is relevant. Okay, Fukushima stays seated as Death Arms leaves. Pulling out his phone, he texts his friend. I won't be able to help with any more WoW raids. I think an admin has taken a disliking to me. The one we ran into earlier. Understood. Will this be a problem for non-WoW activities? Unknown. Fair enough. TF2 tonight? Or do you want to introduce me to Minecraft? So how did it go? Asked Manuel. He all but confirmed his robbery was a fake and his presence at Tokyo Today. He claimed not to have crossed paths with Nobody. We got a hair color for the male, black. Well, there goes our slim lead. Should we make the arrest? No, he seemed pretty remorseful, and he was forced into this. We should keep an eye on him. I'll let a sidekick or two use my house for a stakeout. I can contribute, and I'm sure Miss Joke has a sidekick or two to spare. Mother Toga called. I'm going out to study with a friend. Not one from your old school? She called back. Yes, of course. Bye. Toga all but sprinted out the door, backpack over one shoulder. It was only a 5-minute walk to the train station, but she could run it in one. Reaching the platform, she felt invigorated. Beelining to an open bench, she began to redo her hair into the messy buns she much preferred. Pulling her black metal-studded belt out of her pack, she slung it around her waist. Then a really cute red choker. Unbuttoning her shirt, she revealed a black skull and crossbones shirt. Nice look, someone comments. Toga whipped her head up. It was a really cute girl. With a punk rock look Toga just loved. Back at you. Overprotective parents? The stranger asked. The worst. How about you? Nah, mine are cool. Dang. At least I can still have them as in-laws. Toga says, while shooting the girl a wink and doing finger guns. The girl blushed. Smooth. Holding out her hand, she says, Gyro. Taking her hand, Toga says, Toga, just Toga. So, what's your quirk? Oh, shapeshifting when I drink blood. Wild. She then turns her head and moves her hair. She had a headphone jack where her earlobe was. Do they do anything? I mean, besides look pretty. Gyro smiles. A couple things. I could tell you more, but... Then her eyes dart up and down. Then I wouldn't have an excuse to get your number. It's Toga's turn to blush. She pulls out her phone. Wait, have I seen you somewhere before? I've been on TV once or twice, Gyro says, as she taps out her contact info. Oh my god, the sports festival. My friend makes me watch it every year. Really now, how can I be sure you're not stalking me? Toga smiles her smile. If you thought I was a rabid fan, you wouldn't have kept typing in your number. Cute and smart, impressive. Before Toga can say more, a train enters the station. That's my train, says Gyro, while handing back the phone. Darn, mine's the next one. Text you later. Looking forward to it. Having nothing else to do, Toga begins painting her nails blood red while she waits for her train. The building Toga was heading to was kind of dilapidated and in the shadier part of town. In Toga's world, it was the second place she felt most at home. Slipping her key into the lock, she gave a quick knock and entered. "It's Toga." Izuku calls as he walked over to give his friend a hug. He adds, "Just in time, gentle, just put the kettle on." From the other room, a phone rings. "How was your day, senpai?" "Oh, it was great. One of my classmates broke his nose. He was a dick, and it smelled great. And I got a cute girl's number." Izuku beamed. "That's awesome." La Brava Gentle called. "A moment." "Coming, dear," she responded. "We were about to play Candleland, then talk business." "Oh, fun. Any new schemes?" "No, that's the problem. I'm having the villainous equivalent of writer's block. How do I top ending the number 2 hero's carrier?" Toga adopts a pained looks. "Maybe we shouldn't top it. I mean, if every hero in Japan isn't gunning for us, it's only because they are still reeling from finding out Endeavor's secret." Izuku frowns. Toga continues, "You could become a quirk therapist like you have been telling your teachers. I could, I don't know, become a butcher. We have already done good. But we can keep doing more good." "I know, but maybe we keep quiet for a while. Get a part-time job. Something. Spring up under a new alias later. Maybe." Gentle enters the room. "Children," he says, "we will be having company over. An old associate of mine." "Who?" Izuku asks. "You'll find out in due time. Showmen like us do like to make entrances. For now, tea." Later, a knock on the door. Gentle goes to open it. As Toga and Izuku put on their ski masks. "Gentle, you old cad, making a name for yourself at last. Compress, my dear fellow, what brings you here?" Walking back into the room, Gentle brings with him a man wearing a yellow coat, a top hat with feather, and a strange black and white mask. "Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the magnificent, the stupendous Mr. Compress." "Oh, hello, Compress," says La Brava coldly. "Now, my dear," says Gentle, "you promised to at least hear him out. But what could he possibly bring to the table what we don't already have? Experience? My ability to transport large and heavy objects discreetly. You charge too much for a pack mule." "Wah." Compress looks affronted. "How about this? The blood of the peerless thief runs through my veins. That's right, I'm Mr. Compress and the great-great-grandson of the peerless thief." This time Gentle speaks up. "I beg your pardon, and my dear friend, but didn't we meet you while robbing a used car salesman? What's your point?" "Well, it just strikes me, and again apologize for the criticism, but it seems like you haven't done much of anything with that legacy." Mr. Compress pauses. If you look closely, you can see the bottom of his jaw flapping under the mask. "I will be right back." Mr. Compress storms out. "Well then," said Gentle, "does anyone know when Mustard will be arriving?" Izuku has the decency to look sheepish. "Is already on the hero's radar thanks to our failed fake robbery and the Tokyo Today thing." "Izu," shouts Toga. I upgraded his internet security like La Brava showed me, and have been only talking with him over internet games we play." La Brava gives a long sigh. "Don't tell me we actually need the extra hands." A pot of tea and some bickering later. Compress returns. "Not doing anything, you say? Well, here." He materializes a large binder. "This was to be my magnum opus, clearing out the biggest bank in Japan." Izuku takes the binder. Mumbling to himself, he begins, "I think this is doable, not possible. Maybe if La Brava, Toga could. But where would we keep?" Looking up, he asks Compress, "Can you store a person? What happens if you do?" He responds, a bit lost, "Yes." And they enter suspended animation of a sort. Perfect. Wait, what's this about home loans? They have been issuing a lot lately, and I've been trying to figure out how to take advantage. This is not good. Everyone is looking at him. I read some books about pre-quark economics a while back, and they mentioned in the United States there was a housing bubble that led to a Great Recession. I'm no expert, but this seems to be mimicking that setup. So, asked Compress, so if we break in and delete their loan record, we could save the country's economy. Haha, says Gentle, marvelous, my dear boy. We are still taking money, yes, asked Compress. Works for me, says Toga. I need the money. I could use a new PC, said La Brava. I have some hero merch I wanted to buy and some charities that could use some donations, says Izuku. Redistro was not happy. He wasn't unhappy, either, maybe a little stressed. A new rising star so close to the Meta Liberation Arm could interfere, not to mention the Endeavor scandal throwing a few plans slightly off. Oh well. When it was time to clear the board, he would either be recruited or destroyed, same as all the others. Shadow really didn't know what to do with himself. The transfer paperwork would take a little while longer to process, but he was told not to return to his old classroom. So he was just sitting there. Are you that fire ice kid? Someone asked. Shadow shuddered and braced himself for some fan or well-wisher or Endeavor stan. Turning his head, he saw a girl with purple dreadlocks in a dirty jumpsuit. Yes? Great, you're perfect. She grabbed his hand and said, come with me. Some of the support labs, smelters, and forges are down. They really should be built to take higher temperatures. I could really use your firepower. Wait, I swore I would never use my right side for H. He stopped. This wasn't hero work, and he had nothing better to do. Okay, he says. Everything is fine had been Toga's mantra since the quirk counseling. Everything is fine. She is fine. Being normal is fine. She is fine, therefore she is normal. Normal girls do normal things. She is normal, therefore what she does is normal. Loving blood is normal because she is normal. Loving girls and boys is fine because she is fine. Willing to commit unspeakable acts to protect her loved ones and their happiness is fine because she is normal. Helping rob the biggest bank in Japan is going to be totally, definitely fine. Toga is normal. Toga is fine. Everything is normal. Everything is fine. Toga began to whisper that to herself as she walked into the mall. There she was. Right where she said she would be Jiru Kyoka. She was smiling at one of her classmates. She turns her head, probably sensing the eyes on her. Their eyes lock. Kyoka's smile morphs into a content smirk. It is normal to love someone with your whole heart and soul. She loves the Midoriyas like that, and she is quickly coming to love Kyoka like that. Hey you, Toga whispers. Kyoka waves her hand from near her waist. What the fuck are you doing here? Screamed someone. It is normal to love the Midoriyas with every fiber of your being. It's not just fine and normal, it's right. Bakugo Katsuki is not normal. Oh my god, Kaken, it's a mall. Her voice caustic, people go here. Did she just call you Kaken? Someone called. Go somewhere else, blood bitch. Fuck off and die, you feral firecracker. The fuck did you call me? Die. Someone is holding Bakugo back. I'll give you another fucking scar. Someone's holding Toga back. Someone's in front of her. Black purple hair, eyeliner, eyes like the night sky. Toga's panting heavily. The look on Kyoka's eyes are worry, fear. No. Toga turns. No, no. Toga runs. No, 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 no. Toga finds herself slamming a bathroom stall door shut. She's shaking. She's crying. Knock. The sound rings out like a judge's gavel as her fate is set. Knock. Knock. Hey. Toga wants to laugh. It's Kyoka. Are you okay? Do we need to talk about that? I've never seen you like that. Did he do something to you? I know you're there, just her voice wavers. Toga speaks hesitantly. I didn't mean I'm sorry. Hey, SHHH. It's okay. Just what happened. Toga feels herself shake. She doesn't want to live with another lie. I am not. I'm an angry person. I can't tell if I'm a good person. Bakugo is the scum of the fucking earth. Toga takes a deep breath. He hurts everything. Toga goes quiet. If it makes you feel better. No one at UA likes Bakugo either. Well, except maybe Minta. I fucked this up. I'm sorry. I'll just go and... Don't. Please stay, Kyoka interrupts. But I'm. You're a cute, angry woman who I've only ever seen explode on the worst person I know. Want to go to Hot Topic, my treat? Slowly, Toga opens the door. Do you want to? Kyoka rolls her eyes, of course. What about your camping supplies? Me, that's a later problem. Come on, Blondie. The duo reach their destination in silence. Do you think I can pull of this ring? Asks Kyoka, pointing at a thick skull-shaped ring. Toga looks ponders. Go for it. Kyoka gasps. You'd look really good in that. She says while pointing at a red leather choker with metal studs. Oh, it's such a pretty color. As Toga tries it on, Jiru asks, did you really give Bakugo a scar? Bite right above his left knee. Kyoka snickers, hot. Toga doesn't know what to say to that. Upon further consideration, the only thing to do is blush intensely. Do you think I can pull off these boots? Toga asks, quickly changing the topic. The boots in question were large black knee-length boots with 2-inch soles. Kyoka smiles, yes. Toga nearly tripped twice walking out of the store. Thankfully, she had someone to lean on. The door to the apartment opens and slams closed. Toga sighs, I'm in love. La Brava looks up from the kitchen table. Oh, did the date go well? Tell us everything. She's just perfect. We ran into the worst person on earth, and I got so mad, but she stayed. La Brava, gentle, and even Mr. Compress share a look. Dear child, Gentle speaks. Do people tend to leave you? When you get emotive? Sometimes, Toga says chipperly. But that's the trash taking itself out. Where's is nobody? Just then a toilet flushes, and the sound of a sink being turned on can be heard. Soon nobody walked down the hall, rubbing his hands on his pants. All right, he asks, everything's ready. La Brava leans back. It was 3:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. The fun thing about banks is that the good ones are just like casinos. Hardcore security, but with the occasional hilarious kink. An unsecured Wi-Fi enabled fish tank, a smart coffee maker, or someone accidentally connecting to the unsecured lobby Wi-Fi. La Brava smiled from her seat at a nearby cafe. She had an in. Somewhere in that monolith of glass and steel, a Dell printer just popped up as unsecured. Fingers flying, she made the digital world sing. We have, La Brava said on that Friday evening. Employee records, security details, and where they get their uniforms. Unfortunately, she says while leaning forward, I can't edit the records we are after without two-step authorization or physical access. Worst to worst, we just destroy the servers housing the records. Gentle stands. It's Friday 13. I know it's last minute, but please. I need this job. Gentle pleads. I'm sorry, sir, we need at least 2 business days to fulfill an order. Gentle begins to tear up. I start Monday. If I don't have this job, my daughter won't have a roof to sleep under. The office worker looks with sorrow. Okay, just don't make a scene, man. I'll see what we have in the back. It might not fit right, but it will look better then. He gestures to a lump of fabric in Gentle's hands that looks like it was attacked by wild dogs. 3 hours later, the gentle criminal proudly proclaims, I have the uniform. Mr. Compress moves his hands with a flourish. Keys are dangling between 2 of his fingers. Then, with clear joy in his voice, he speaks. I do believe it's showtime. Lights, he calls, striking a dramatic pose. Costumes. shouts Gentle. Action. Nobody, La Brava, and Crimson all turn into marbles with a tap of Compress hand. After catching and handing the marbles over to Gentle, Compress said with an offer elbow, "Shall we, my good man?" Gentle smiled and gave a surprisingly elegant bow. "We shall indeed." Sako Atsuhiro was many things: handsome, a gentleman rogue, charming, a master thief, and a man with admittedly a bit of an ego. However, Mr. Compress likes to think that he knew his limits and his areas of specialties. For instance, he wasn't a getaway driver. "Faster!" Nobody shouted over the sirens from the back seat. "Hold on," the car careens. A turn taken too sharply. A fire hydrant coming up fast. Looking up at the sleek building, Gentle couldn't quite decide if the building looked better and less intimidating at night or not. It certainly was awe-inspiring, he mused. Walking to the front door, Gentle pulls out a key card manufactured with the ever-helpful Jurin. A security officer manning the front desk looks up. His prominent toothy lower jaw makes any glare into a snarl. "Wow, who are you?" Gentle, looking as frightened as one would be in this situation, speaks. "I'm the new guy, Lai." The security guard looks down at the computer as he speaks. "Your uniform doesn't fit." Gentle shrugs. "It's all I was given, good sir." "Bastard bureaucrats. I swear." "Well, new guy, I'm Akira. I'll make sure the boys look out for you." "Oh no, that won't be necessary, my good man. I wouldn't want to get in anyone's way." "You'd be more in the way if you didn't know what to do in 3 months. We take care of our own here." "Stupendous. So where did they send you?" "3rd floor, corridor 12. And I'm assuming you don't know where that is." "Typical." "No, sir. I studied the floor plan." He raises an eyebrow, then nods his head once. "Don't forget to grab your radio from the office." "Sir, yes, sir," Gentle says, with an exaggerated salute. Gentle, his stalwart friend, was frantically rolling down his window, sticking his hand out just in time to use his quirk. The fire hydrant flexes as if made of rubber. The office was an underwhelming name for it. It was a complex in and of itself: locker room, conference room, a nice break room, several offices, and behind on door with narrow windows a bay of monitors. At least 5 people watching hawkishly. Gentle swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. In a room simply labeled the Ready Room were rows of radios and utility belts. In the belts was pepper spray, capture tape, taser, flashlight, and collapsible baton. Security in a place like this would be tight, even before the age of quirks drastically reduced self-defense restrictions. Clipping on the belt, Gentle takes a deep breath, put in an earpiece, and confidently strides out of the office and into a luxurious retro deco elevator. "Turn left," nobody shouts frantically. A hero jumps out. Toga recognized him. As the car swerves, just barely avoiding the hero, Toga kicks open her door. Pro-hero Death Arms violently dents the door. Death Arms' hand just barely connects. As the car swings, the door mercifully gives out. Corridor 12 appeared to be its own bureaucratic fiefdom, wrapping around a central cubicle-filled office space, lined on the outside with bathrooms, closets, offices, and break rooms. Gentle began to peruse through the cubicles looking for sticky notes, occasionally even going so far as to check under keyboards. Oh, this was something. "What are you doing?" someone calls. Gentle's heart spikes with adrenaline. He sees a security guard at the edge of the cubicles. "What?" "Oh, looking for anyone sneaking around." "Ha," the man laughs. "They give everyone that spiel. Look, come here." Gentle walks over. "See your corridor? Don't know why they call him that." He starts. "Has these 2 main paths through the grid, the cubicles. See?" He gestures to where he is standing. "North, south, east, west. You can see everything in here. Well, everything important. With how dark it is." He wiggles the flashlight in his hand. "Incidentally, that's why you keep your flashlight on low. Everyone else will need a light to see. See the light, not them. You get me right. Yes, of course. Gentle then fiddles with the flashlight. Twist the lip of the light, member. Right? Gentle then flashes it from high to low. Marvelous invention. The other man laughs. I'm going back to my rounds. These radios have trackers. And the boss man doesn't like it when we go out of our space. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Ha, they don't tell us. But we watch our own here. See you around. He then whistles merrily as he walks away. Problem: La Brava phone in hand. Ingenium and Blink are inbound. What? Shouts nobody. Why? They're both daytime. Maybe, shouts Crimson. We pissed them off. Plan. Nobody starts mumbling. Ida La Brava helpfully adds 5 minutes. The gentle criminal had to work fast. He had no idea how long until someone else would interrupt them. Pulling out the marbles, he tried crushing them between his fingers. Then fist. Then he put them on the ground and stomped. Nobody, the lovely La Brava, and Crimson and Compress's outfit pop into existence. La Brava quickly pecks Gentle on the lips. Oh, this is going to be great. Yes, it will be. I must be going, they have a tracker on me. La Brava pales before nodding determined. Gentle continues his farcical patrol. La Brava looks the computer. A password so helpfully stuck to under a keyboard. Security too much of it, and it disappears. With the light of the screen she could work. Soon she had the access she needed. The complete record of every home loan as of 50 years back. La Brava plugs in a flash drive and runs a program. She pushes her chair away. Okay, let me set up my camera, and you just have to press enter. Crimson downs a vial of blood. Her body shifts and grows. If La Brava didn't know to expect it, she would think Mr. Compress was right in front of her. No, she adjusts some clothes. Dicks are the worst. No offense. She says to nobody. Okay, moving on, La Brava says a touch too loudly. She holds up her hand. 542. Hello, Mr. Compress, Whisper shouts. I am the marvelous Mr. Compress. La Brava snickered at the spot on impersonation. I'm here with nobody and Gentle, a conspiratorial lean towards the camera, who's here in spirit. W or H, nobody swallows. We're here because this lovely institution is gambling with our economy. Just like in 2008 in the United States of America. Home loans too good to be true. Mr. Compress cuts in. But I were to press this button. Click. Tada, no more records. Enjoy home ownership. La Brava cuts the camera. Then she gives a big thumbs up. Before standing on the chair waving to Gentle and turning off the computer. Gentle, for his part, drops his radio and merrily walks over. How was it? They did wonderfully. Now let's get out of here. As the merry band reaches S staircase, they hear a voice. What the? It's the security guard from before. Thinking quickly, Gentle uses his quirk to elasticize the air between them. Nobody kicks open the door. A fire alarm goes off. Run. As they run, jump, and tumble down the stairs, Mr. Compress begins to warp and shrink, leaving behind a trail of gunk. Stumbling, Gentle picks her up. Reaching the ground floor, they jump out into an alley. The real Mr. Compress waits, smoking a cigarette as he waits. Drive, La Brava shouts, as they all pile in. I've got it, shouts nobody. Compress, can you disappear a car? And Gentle, can you catch Compress when he does? Yes. Capital idea. Crimson. Nobody and La Brava are quickly marbled. All right, take the wheel. Gentle lunges for the wheel as Compress reaches into the back seat. This car won't go back together, 3 twoon. Suddenly the duo were tumbling through open air. Gentle wraps Compress into a hug before they start to bounce. As soon as they slow down enough, Gentle too disappears into a marble, along with most of Mr. Compress's outfit. He turns right as a jacket seems to appear by magic, followed soon by a bottle of sake. Splashing some on himself and drinking some more, Mr. Compress becomes Mr. Drunk Office Worker. Suddenly everyone was in the apartment. Oh my God, Crimson starts, did we do it? Yes, yes, responds Mr. Compress. No need to thank me. La Brava lunges at Gentle, who immediately starts spinning around in a hug. Ha ha ha, Gentle's voice booms out. We saved the economy. We got really rich, adds Mr. Compress. We're rich, right? We're all multi-millionaires, screams La Brava. Someone bangs on the ceiling. La Brava gasps. We can get a new apartment. Then La Brava jumps from Gentle to nobody. Thank you, Compress begins clapping. Crimson joins the hug. Gentle's hand rests firmly on nobody's shoulder. So what now? Nobody asks after a nervous chuckle. We lay low, Crimson says sternly. Exactly, La Brava states. But dear Gentle starts. Nope. No, she looks to Gentle. We did it. We're in the history books. Twice over now. Let's just focus on staying out of Tartarus for a while. I, for one, begins Compress. Am going to enjoy a nice beach and maybe try my hand at poker. But we simply must do this again. Oh, Crimson speaks. Am going to get an apartment. I'll finally be free. She then laughs lightly. Nobody you can come. I mean I can't leave my mom, and what about school? Crimson groans. Ugh, yeah, we can't leave your mom. Am still getting the apartment. A girl needs her space. We should set aside money for mustard too, shouldn't we? Asks nobody. If that's what you want. La Brava responds. It's going to take a couple weeks for everything to clear through the laundering system we had set up anyway. Ladies, gentlemen, Compress suddenly cuts in. Enough business talk. There's suddenly a bottle in his hand. Was my greatest accomplishment. Genuine 200-year-old wine, made in the same province, the same year as the glowing baby. No, it's not, says nobody. I what? Look, the bottle's wrong. Blue River Winery didn't use that label until 100 years after the baby. Oh, Compress says dejectedly, are you sure? Yes, I'm a quirk nerd, and I read up on it. I'm really sorry. Well, Compress says as he starts rebounding. It's still wine, and this is still symbolic of me rising above past fame. Let's open it. Here, here, Gentle adds. And would our mastermind like a glass? Inquires Compress. Am a minor. Compress looks taken aback, then looks to Gentle. Where did you find him? My YouTube comments section. Compress snickers, then laughs. Marvelous. Still nobody, Crimson, you should at least try it. This is your victory as much as mine. Problem, my good man, Gentle adds. We only have the 2 glasses. Compress starts patting down his pockets. Then fishes around the rim of his hat. He glances into a marble. Then laughs. I have takeout in this one. No wine glass, I'm afraid. A box of food still steaming appears in his hand. We do have cups, La Brava adds. Compress sighs, that will have to do. The 3 adults enjoy a rather marvelous bottle of wine as the 2 teens slowly nurse their small cups. This was a truly great start to summer break. Talia looked at the door. His childhood home, his hell, his whatever. He reaches towards the door. Knock, 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 knock. The door opens. A pink-haired girl with dreadlocks opens the door. Hello? Ooh, Dabai says dumbly. Is this the Todoroki resident? Are you a reporter? No. Are you a well-wisher? No. Is Fayumi here? Nope. She'll be back. I'm closing the door now. Well, that was odd. I might as well wait. Dabai plops down on the step and pulls out his phone. Later a voice calls, Excuse you. You're on my front step. Fayumi, hey. Then Dabai does something stupid. It's me, it's Talia. Then Dabai was covered up to his neck in ice. What the heck is your problem? She looks uncomfortably like her dad when she is angry. Dabai realizes. My brother is dead. I can do a DNA test if you want. No, I don't want your DNA. Before things got bad, Mom would get me to chop onions by convincing me it was good training for chemical warfare. Fayama's face does flip-flops. Talia? Dabai no Talia smiles, im home. H how are you? We found bones. Honestly, no idea. Woke up in a creepy hospital a few years later. What? Why didn't you come home? Dabai looks away. I don't know. I can't wait to tell Natsuo. Natsuo corrects Talia. Suddenly, the ice sculpture that was Talia was being hugged. Just checking. I'm still going to need that DNA test. Great, can you get me out of this? Fayumi grins. You made me wait years, you can wait. I'll order a DNA test. She then walks around him and closes the door behind herself. Fayumi. You're lucky I can't freeze to death. There was a car flying down the street. Death Arms is off the clock, but he doesn't hesitate. It takes his brain a moment to find the right gear, but he gets there. The car swerves around him. A door swings out, smashing his face against the window. Oh no, you don't, he yells as he grabs the car door. Momentum carries him and the car into a turn. For a single moment, he takes in the occupants. The first person to stand out was the pantless woman wearing a too big outfit. Behind her is an unassuming man in a baklava. Then a very short woman in a loud outfit. The car door snaps off. The car itself shoots out like a rocket. Death Arms fumbles his phone. Hello, a sleepy Manuel answers. Ugh, what's the fire? A grumpy Miss Joke adds to the conference call. Death Arms runs after them. I almost had them. Nobody and the rest. I'm in pursuit. What? How? They came right at me in a car. He groans. I was too busy almost getting run over to note the plates. Where are you? Asks Miss Joke. Death Arms rattles off an address as he runs. Briefly, there's a blur. He jerks. Ingenium whizzes by. Damn, I'm not catching up. That's okay, Miss Joke adds. Are they going north-south or east-west? South, then they turned west. Okay, and that direction is the biggest bank in Japan. I'll see you there. Death Arms pivots to start moving in the opposite direction, manual. They hear a light snoring. By the time Death Arms reaches, their cops have swarmed. Out of the way, out of the way. Emma hero. Death Arms spots who he thinks is the most important guy in the room. Are you in charge here? A sigh. Yes, I am, the police officer answers. What happened here? Apparently, the new security guard let thieves in, and all went out the fire escape. Damn. Do they have anything on camera? No, whoever did this was smart enough to delete the record. Replaced it with a goddamn dancing cat gif. Yoo-hoo, the voice of Miss Joke calls out. How the hell did you get here this fast? Well, I'm legally allowed to speed, she says while flashing a class driver's license. So what's happening? Well, the company's in-house cybersecurity team is still en route, says the officer. Cameras? Asks Miss Joke. Have all been whipped and replaced with a dancing cat gif. Miss Joke lets out a honking laugh. I'm sorry, that's just pretty funny. Welp, let's get interviewing. She turns and trots away. First, she sees a security guard in the corner, pale and filled with dread. Hey, can you tell me what happened here? The new guy lie. Shit, it's so obviously a fake name. His uniform didn't even fit. I'm so fired. Oh, come on, they won't fire you. I'm sure you did your best. Yeah. He starts to look a little better. Imagine if I hadn't asked the others to look after the new guy. It would have been a clean getaway. If anyone asks, I thought he seemed off, and that's why I had him watched. Miss Joke mimes zipping her lip. then writes something on HR notepad. So who found them in the act? I'll take you to him. Miss Joke had a good feeling about this guy, young, yet with laugh lines. Although he wasn't laughing now. Hiya. Miss Joke, can you tell me what happened here? Well, I'd been showing the new guy the ropes, and then I left to do my rounds. I tried to radio him, but it must have been turned off, so I went back to see him. Miss Joke hums, was he with anyone? 4 people counting him. 2 other men, 1 child, I think. You think? She was very short. But who brings a kid to a crime? Can you describe them in more detail? Well, I had these big eye bags. It might have been makeup. He was clean-shaven, stark white hair, tall. Now the next one, he had this big top hat and yellow coat. He was taller than the first guy, but that might have been the hat. The girl was tiny, not even 4 feet, massive red ponytails. The last guy was shortish, pretty generic. What with the mask and all. Okay, Miss Joke says after writing something else down. Did he have red shoes? I don't know, maybe. Yeah, he did. Can you show me the scene of the crime? No, a new voice cuts in. A tall, lanky man with a long neck, green hair, yellow highlights. I'll be taking over the nobody case. You can go home. What, surely you can't be serious? I am serious. His mouth quirks up. And don't call me Shirley. Miss Joke barks out another laugh. Well, if you need any help. That won't be necessary, he says coldly, while immediately burning any good will the joke generated. As the 2 heroes strolled out of the building, Miss Joke cracks. So do you have a second quirk to run into nobody in particular, or what? I was at a singles mixer, Death Arms growls out. Nedzu was delighted. Nobody robbing Japan's largest bank makes Nedzu more sure than ever that he's going to have fun hunting down this upstart. He hoped it would be like going after All for One. A non-murderous All for One sounded like a refreshing side project, while dealing with this league of villains. Joshi Samui was going to enjoy mounting somebody's nobody's head to a pike. Her stocks had tanked literally overnight, and nobody and his merry men were going to pay. Yatsubashi was stressed. What was that nobody thinking? With the stock market in shambles, who knows what would happen? Nobody had just gone from a promising upstart to target number 1. Millions of people across Japan woke up with a weight off their chest. They didn't know it yet. But big news like this traveled fast. Some would dig through their own records and realize they were department-free before calmly and collectively misfiling the evidence. Others wouldn't realize for weeks when no new bill came in the mail. Within the month, consumer spending skyrockets, savings accounts balloon. For many, it was the good news they needed to hear in challenging times. Ultimately, it was good to be a homeowner.